Hey everyone, welcome to the From Chaos to Clarity Unleash Your Business Potential podcast. I appreciate you guys coming. Got a question for you. If you are one of our entrepreneurs that's probably anti QuickBooks or like, I'm not sure if QuickBooks is for me, this is going to be the episode for you. I have one of my colleagues, Jacqueline Mercer of Baldwin Financial Services. She's going to introduce Wave to us. Now, I've had prospective clients in the past that have let me know either they're currently using Wave, primarily because of the pricing, because as you know, QuickBooks is monthly, and at the time, Wave was free. But Jacqueline's going to inform you guys that they also have tiered pricing as well. But that's the only thing I won't give up right now. You have to watch the rest of the episode to get the rest. So go ahead and get your pencil, paper, all of that, and let's get into this episode. Welcome, y'all, to the From Chaos to Clarity Unleash Your Business Potential podcast. I'm your host, Sonia Jones, your Mr. B. I Give Money. Y'all know how we do it here on the podcast. And today we have a very special guest. And let me tell you how I met Jackie. So, if you guys saw me on social media, I have this thing about, fake news and, calling folk about stuff. And so I was on Facebook one day and somebody asked, I think in a particular group or something like that, asking about S corps. And y'all heard me, when I talk about S corps, I like to get on my soapbox a little bit, just a little bit, not a whole lot. And when it comes to social media and all things financial, there are not a whole lot of people who actually know what they're talking about. Not a whole lot. And so there was an individual that was asking about S Corp information. And I was scrolling through just to kind of see the lay of the land. And I just so happened to see Jackie's response, and it was so thorough and so accurate. And so I had to go on there and say, I 100% agree. I gave my little blurbs, and it was just kind of like we were tagging each other. It was like assist, like Kobe. Like, yeah. You know what I'm saying? And it was just cool to the point where we actually connected via DM, and then we ended up going to lunch and just kind of, talking about where our careers started and how we can help each other. And when Jackie mentioned about her experience with the Wave accounting software, I was like, you know what, that's a lick, because a lot of my prospective clients talk about Wave. And I was like, that would be a great opportunity for you to come on and just really just give us a demo, what Wave is, who is it good for, the pros and cons of it, and things like that, because those things are necessary, because we don't want you guys just, using things, just because of the price point and stuff like that. You want to make sure that you're in software that has features that at least can grow with you and your business, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to some and present to others the one, the only, Jacqueline Mercer of Baldwin Financial Services. Y'all give
What an intro. What an intro. Yeah, first and foremost, thank you, Sonia, for having me. And yes, it's just great to be sisters in collaboration in the finance and accounting and bookkeeping space. So yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, so just a little bit about myself and Baldwin Financial. I am a accountant by trade and by education. I have worked in the corporate accounting space for over 20 years, but also have my own practice and have been practicing since 2018, primarily servicing solopreneurs and entrepreneurs. Also have some nonprofit clients and some political clients in the treasury space. So say that all to say that in today's podcast, we're going to be talking about Wave, because Wave is my default system for a lot of my clients. It's not the only system. And like Sonia said, we will be talking about who Wave is a good fit for and who it's not. So I'm just happy to be here and cut out some of the noise. And like Sonia said, you hear a lot of chatter on social media platforms, and I'm hoping to set the record straight about a few things. So I guess let's get into it. Wave. So Wave is a cloud platform similar to some of the other platforms that you may be familiar with, like QBO, Zero, FreshBooks, Sage, etc. It's one of the platforms out there. To be truly transparent, it's not the most popular one. And again, there's certain, I think, industries and tiers, the way I think about who it's a good fit for. I do want to put a disclaimer out here. I am no way affiliated with Wave. It's a tool that I use and purchase, and my clients purchase on behalf of the service. And it's just based on my experience. Someone could have a completely different take. And who knows, I may have a completely different take 10 years from now. But today I'm, just discussing what I have observed so far. So the way I think about who Wave is a good fit for, and we're going to get into the actual tool in just a few moments, but I kind of think about it in tiers, Sonia. So, and audience, the first tier being the do-it-yourselfer. So I think of a do-it-yourselfer, entrepreneur, solopreneur, business owner as someone that's been in business 2 years, definitely no more than 3. They don't have any payroll, they don't have any contractors, no accounts payable, no assets to depreciate, just very straightforward expenses and income. And Wave could be a good tool for that type of do-it-yourselfer. Okay. It's a very clean platform, which you'll see in a few moments, and you can just go out there, categorize, etc. So then the next tier that I think about is service-based is also the best fit. So if you are a service-based business, meaning that you don't have a product that you make and sell to generate revenue, or you don't have a product that you resell that someone else has made and generate revenue. So because that creates inventory. Wave, again, is you can do inventory, but here's my next tier. You need a professional to assist you in there. So Wave, again, I'm a professional. Sonia's a professional. A lot of professionals out there. Wave can be a tool for you, but again, you just need a professional to help guide you through some of the back end and the functionality of how the system works, and to make sure your financials are correct. So if you are a business that is service or inventory, have accounts payable, have assets to depreciate, Wave can do that for you. It can do your billing, which we'll talk about as well, integrate your billing and your receivables, and it has reporting as well that we'll talk about. And then that leaves me, Wave is not a good fit for all. So first and foremost, it's not a good fit for any nonprofits that have to present to a board where the board is requesting to see several views of the financials. So sometimes, not all boards, but some boards. Some boards want to see a monthly trend. They want to see classes and tiers of the data. Wave is not going to be able to do that within the tool. You will have to export it and do it offline. Also, construction-based businesses. So if you're doing project tracking, cost tracking, Wave is not the tool for your type of business. It would be too manual of an effort. And at that point, you should just honestly look into another tool. So with that, we can get into the tool, unless there's, Sonia, if there's you want to stop me, anything you want to expand on with what I just said?
No, but I do want, especially going back to the nonprofits, though, you brought up a good point. And I will also say, especially since you brought up classes and things like that, my mind went to grant tracking.
Okay.
Because that's going to be another level of reporting, right? That, that's going to require that, that type of thing. So Why it wouldn't be adequate for that level of reporting.
Exactly. Yep. We're ready. We'll go ahead and I'll share my screen from here. I will say that because of sensitivity of data, this demo does not have any data in it. So we'll be primarily going through the menu options, and I'll just speak to what those menu options can do. But this is the Wave dashboard. So when you start Wave, if you'll see this address here, you'll just go to your browser of choice, type in Wave apps, and you'll put your email address in, and your email address will at that point be what Wave uses to create your profile. So again, one profile to one Wave account. If you wanted multiple Wave accounts for whatever reason, you can put different emails in there. So once you are in here, this is what you'll see. The name of your business will be over here to the right. And then all of the functionality would be over to the left. And then here's a dashboard, which is just quick views of some of the data. Now, like I said, you see zeros here because we are not showing anybody's real data. I do want to kind of start here just to talk about the price point of Wave. Sonia mentioned that in her introduction in terms of let's understand what you're purchasing. And when you're buying anything, you want to buy on the features and then the price to make sure that that's the right fit for what you need. So here you can see that it's asking me, do I want to upgrade? Wave has two plans. It's going to turn here. It has the starter plan, which is absolutely free. Okay. And what you get with the starter plan is really just the ability to create invoices and the option to accept payments. And then once that payment comes through, a fee is attached to it. You'll have access to the mobile app, and you can also view your reports. This is a bit different if you are familiar with Wave. In the past, maybe 3 years or so, it's been advertised, which it was a free plan, and it was. But what used to be free is now $16. So the main difference between these two plans is the starter plan has no bank integration. So it's really just going through Wave and inserting, pulling out your bank statement, inserting the transaction, and coding it as deposit, withdrawal, etc., and then to the appropriate chart of accounts. Now, your bank integration, which is everything that pulls into your bank, which is, like, honestly, if you have any more than 20 transactions, you'll probably want to go with the Pro plan, which is $16 per month. And it comes with all of what I just said, but it also auto imports your bank transactions. You can upload your receipts. It will do an auto merge and categorize your transactions, which I always say that's a watch out. You still want to, in any system, make sure that the system is coding. You can add users, you can have attachments and templates. So this is really the plan that has the functionality to do what you need it to do from a bookkeeping standpoint. We'll just start over here to the left, sales and payments. So this is where your invoices for your customers can be set up. Again, we're thinking this is as the Pro plan. You can create estimates and invoices. Your estimate will allow you to include your business logo, and you can see here on the template that it will just be outlined here to say estimate. And your invoice looks exactly like this as well. Basically, you would send this to your customer. If they agree to what's on there, you can convert it to the invoice. And once you are on the invoice screen, you can see the screen that just flashed there. You'll have a listing of invoices, and your customers can actually pay you through Wave. With payment setups, that's exactly what I was just speaking on. This is where after you send your invoice, your customers can pay you through credit card, as well as you can set up recurring invoices if you have a fixed fee every month, and it can automatically go out. And the customer can also set up on their end, like you would Amazon or something, where it comes out the same account, and you don't even have to touch it or worry about it or go in every month. Again, if it's the same fee every month. I will give a caution here, or watch out here, is because of security reasons, Wave wants to make sure that the individual that's on that bank account, that business bank account, is indeed the same person that's collecting the payment. So there is a verification process that you have to go through. It's going to ask you for your EIN. It's going to ask you for your driver's license, and they're going to compare it to the bank information to get started. So there is a verification for cybersecurity reasons. We've talked about recurring invoices. Again, it just gives you an option to create that recurring invoice and get automatic payments and automatic scheduling. The checkouts tool allows you to accept payments directly from your website. So you would just go through these options if you didn't want to send out the invoices separately. And then under customer statements, this gives you a good view of how much your customers are spending with you. So this is a good analytic to know, hey, who's my top customer? What does my top customer owe? Or if your customer just asked for a statement at some point in time, this screen and functionality will allow that. The customers database is basically where you have all your customers' data. So you have their name, their email, their address, and their phone number. And that information automatically populates on the invoice as well. So you don't have to keep typing in the customer's name, but you'll have a one-stop shop where you can always go and look at all of your customers. And the last option under here is products and services. So for instance, I have a bookkeeping and tax business. So my services, I have a service line for bookkeeping, a service line for taxes, a service line for payroll. So you'll do something similar for your business. And the way it will work is that will populate over on your invoice as well as your reports. And that is the sales and payment menu.
Gotcha. I want to stop right here just because you brought up some very good points here, Jackie.
Mhm.
Especially for our entrepreneurs, like this is the time where you have to really think about working on your business versus in your business. So especially that's where, those paid features are going to come in at, right? Especially like when Jack and I were looking at Wave before we had a rehearsal.
Yes.
And she actually, I wasn't aware at the time that Wave actually had, a paid tier. Because last time that I interacted with prospectives about Wave, they were basically like, I just go to Wave because it's free,
Mhm.
right? But then thinking about what the free option provides versus what that $16 a month provides, right? Just the fact that with the $16, you can connect your bank account and I have
Mhm.
to manually put information in. That alone, I'm gonna be honest with you, that alone I worth $16 by
Yes,
itself, right?
exactly. Yes.
And then also too, because one of the commonly missed tax deductions that we see are merchant account fees,
Oh yeah.
with your POS and things like that. So if you do set yourself up with the payment options, and that's a big convenience, right?
Mhm.
When you're trying to collect, money and things like that, keep in mind that those transaction fees are tax deductible because it's ordinary and necessary for
Yep.
you to help. It's kind of like your virtual assistant,
Mhm.
right? Like the little virtual cashier.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a great point. So if you build within Wave, that is an integration, and you'll see on the report that they have the merchant account fees as a separate line item. So it integrates your receivables where you can match the invoice with the payment. You have your sale on your profit and loss statement and your receivable on your balance sheet, and then your merchant account fees separated. So it's already done for you. Now, in my experience, I have clients that do not bill within Wave, and I use Wave for their bookkeeping. So that means, again, working with a professional, I know that if you're billing out of Square or out of PayPal, that I have to record a journal entry reflecting that fee. So like you said, Sonia, you don't miss it on your taxes. But that's a common missed one on my end as well when I don't do the bookkeeping and just the taxes for the client. Like, so those can be some very material fees in a sizable tax deduction that you can miss. But yes, Wave integrates that for you. So that's a good point. All right. So that is the sales and payments purchases. This is just really quick. This is more so for reporting purposes. So if you have a vendor that you want to track and code their services and run reports, this is kind of where you would set it up. And then when those transactions come through the feed, you can code it and it would generate a vendor report for you. And like I said, under this purchases, you have the bills. Now, I will say it's not a bill that you can, I use a utility bill, for example, that you can integrate in Wave and pay it from Wave. No, this is just, again, if you want to create a template for bills and track your vendor spending, this is where you would do it. I want to move on to receipts. So receipts is an option in Wave, and this is also on the mobile app in Wave, where when you make a business purchase, you can on your phone scan the receipt and upload it to Wave and then code it to your transaction. You can also upload it from your computer and have it in the transaction as well. So you are able to have some receipt management here. And let's get into accounting. So accounting is where all of your bank information will come through. So when you do purchase the monthly option for $16 per month, this is how you would see the data come from your bank feed. It will come through with the date, the description. It will come through with an account. So it will be typically your business bank account or business credit card. And this is where you would code it or categorize it, and then the amount. It allows you to filter by category. And again, this is just the default chart of accounts that's coming up. You do also have the option and way to edit your chart of accounts, add an account, and then for particular businesses, it tries to fit the business chart of accounts to your business. You also can filter it by type. So if it's a deposit or withdrawal, or if it's a journal entry, there's the receipts we talked about, status reviewed or not reviewed while you are reconciling your bank account, date ranges, etc. So you can filter and you can sort. But when the bank fee comes in, this is how it will look. Now, the actions, that's a journal entry. This is where you would book a debit and a credit, like I said, using Square as an example. Since that is not integrated in Wave, this is how I will make a manual entry as that client's bookkeeper. And if we look at one of the bank feeds, you see we can upload the receipt here, delete it, or copy. Copy is good if you want to, if it's a transaction that doesn't come through the feed, like I would say a depreciation entry or something like that, where you just don't have to go through and all of the steps. And then you can edit. And this is actually how this screen, going back to the manual option, this is what it would look like. So you would it would come in here with the date. You would put in the description. But if you have the bank option or the pro option, this information automatically defaults, as well as the amount. And in the category, you have to pick out. So just touching on category here, you can see, again, I talked about the default chart of accounts, but this integration with payment received for invoice, this is the accounts receivable integration that I was mentioning. So if there was an invoice out here that matched the amount, you can go in here and it will marry the two, and it will integrate that transaction. Same with a credit card or a loan. So if you have set up a payables or a loan, and if those proceeds or the payment comes in, this is where you will match it up so that it translates on your reports correct. So this is part of the Wave integration here in some of the chart of accounts, and you can write notes as well. So this is really where you do a lot of your bookkeeping. The reconciliation is very key, is not as detailed as some other products out there. Really, Wave's reconciliation is saying what is in my bank account is the same thing that the system has in Wave, to make sure that you have a complete set of financials. So this is a common mistake that I see with do-it-yourselfers, is they're not reconciling to the bank statement. Your bank statement is your source. It's where all of your data is that's where it's at. Wave is just a tool. Other platforms are just a tool. So you always have to make sure that what is in any software matches that bank account. And at times, like anything, I mean, the feeds may not work. I've seen it in every tool out there. The feed will stop. And that's why you have this feature, is to make sure that that the system is capturing everything. If not, you can be missing tax deductions. You could be missing reportable income. So you want to always do your reconciliation. And I would even say, just kind of looking at this, if this was my system, I would move reconciliation to the top, because you want to make sure you're coding everything. Chart of accounts. This is the default chart of accounts. It's broken up by the different components in the financial statement. So the first two come from the balance sheet. So again, this is their default version. Your liabilities, your income and your expense will come your P&L. And so if you wanted to kind of match up your income again with your services, this is where you can complete this. And then the expenses is usually the most detailed. And this is what really translates back to your tax return. So you want to make sure that you are capturing the expenses appropriately. One watch out I will say is this dues and subscriptions. You can have a subscription for anything out there, right? But it's so broad. So I like to do a deeper dive. So like, let's say if I am purchasing software for a website, and and it's a subscription. I wouldn't code it here or actually code it to software, because otherwise this can be a really big bucket of stuff, and and takes away from the transparency of what you're actually purchasing and equity. So again, your chart of accounts. And we will get to the hire a bookkeeper. So once we go to the wave advisors after reporting, but that's an option that you have. That again, if you're in here and you're doing it yourself and you want to hire someone, Wave gives you the option to hire a bookkeeper through Wave. Anything you want to add, Sonia, or elaborate on that section, on the accounting section?
I know you pretty much took care of everything, but I loved how talked about between the journal entry, the chart of accounts. I like to, those are kind of what we call the no zone / G14 classified areas. You know, you just don't, because we Gen Xers, this is the equivalent of, and I'm pretty sure, Jackie, you probably had this with your parents. The living room, everybody didn't go in the living room. Only couples were in the living room.
I love the metaphor. Yes, yes, yes.
Right. So that's how we regard the journal entry in the chart of accounts.
Yes. Yes, right. So again, that's when professionals come in, and then depending on how, we might have different business models, Sonia, but depending on how have your client, what assets they have. So you have to be very careful, and that's a warning that I have with my clients. I can give you assets. This is your data. I get it. But when you get in there and you start doing some things without consulting, then you could really, really mess some things up. I mean, to be quite transparent. And the way accounting and bookkeeping work, a lot of things are cumulative and build on each other. So if you make one mistake, you've really made like 20. So, so yes, those journal entries and chart of accounts. I would even say the bank integrations. Please consult with your professional.
And I know we're going to talk too about like Squares and the PayPals and things like that, because that's another thing as far as professionals go, to where we have our own perspective on how those need to be handled, especially in accounting software, for sure. But this is actually a good segue. We're going to pause for the calls here, because GIP offers online community to where we will actually, in our live monthly teachings, can walk you through, some of these best practices and why we say what we say, especially when it comes to, chart of accounts, because we've had situations where, clients just kind of classify everything as a bank account. Like, whoa, what is all this? Like classify loans as bank accounts, things like that. And, depending on how deep the rabbit hole is, in most cases we can get those things situated, but depending on how far it went, we might have to do some surgery.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. So we're going to pause for the calls here so you can learn more about GIP Academy and how you can get access to expert level support for $3 a day, y'all. Can you believe it? $3 a day. All right. So we're going to pause for the calls here so you can learn more about it. All right. We'll come back in a little bit.
Are you stressed about taxes? Can't afford a bookkeeper? You're not alone. Many entrepreneurs owe the IRS or haven't filed past taxes because no one taught them how to manage their books. That is why we created GIP Academy, the financial coaching program designed for entrepreneurs who need help but aren't ready to pay for a bookkeeper. For $3 a day, we can help you fix past bookkeeping mistakes, organize your numbers for tax season, and increase profit with simple strategy. Join GIP Academy today and get the financial confidence you deserve.
All right, and we are back. So I hope that you had a chance to learn about GIP Academy. It's just a great community for you to grow as an entrepreneur, and it will definitely help you know your numbers. So with that being said, I'm gonna go back on mute and let Jackie take it away, and let's keep learning more about Wave and how it can help your business.
Yes. And Sonia, that's such a good program that you have for the community. Just again, just advocating financial literacy, and so I just love that. And like I told Sonia, she just inspires me, and I love everything that she's doing out there in the community and with GIP Financials. All right, so we are at the banking portion, and this is where your connected accounts come in, and you want to connect your business bank account. So where you are doing business at, you want to connect your business credit cards, and hopefully there's no commingling in there. There's all business, and you want to connect those accounts. Now, Sonia mentioned about PayPal and about Square. I don't typically, connect those accounts, because what happens is when you connect PayPal and Square, they're also connected to your business bank account, right? So you will end up getting duplications if you connect all of those. So you really have to, when you're connecting your accounts, what is the source system of the particular buy? Where are the funds actually coming from? So in Square, for instance, your funds are coming from your clients there, but you have your bank account that's connected to Square. So when the Square transactions come through Wave or any system, you'll see it as uncategorized income Square. So if you connected Square, you're going to get a duplicate. So you want to be very careful, in setting this up. Work with a professional, work through Sonia's Academy, but you want to make sure, otherwise you are going to get duplicated expenses, duplicated income. Same with PayPal. I can have a whole segment on PayPal. PayPal tries to be its own little bank and bundle everything up. So you have to split the income, you have to split the transaction fees, you have to split everything up. So again, do not connect it to your bookkeeping software, will be my recommendation. Payouts is the payments that come through, and it will basically be a report here to show you all of your payouts that's coming in to your bank account. And then insurance is a new feature to Wave. This is just basically promoting an insurance provider for small businesses that Wave is endorsing. So you can just right here at your fingertips within Wave, work through Nets for your insurance coverage. I won't spend a lot of time on payroll. Wave does offer an option for payroll. I particularly don't use their payroll. Not to say it's good, bad, or indifferent. I just work with another third party, but the point here is that it does give you the option to integrate your payroll. If your payroll is not integrated into Wave, this is again is where working with a professional is very, very critical, because you have to create payroll accruals, and you have to make sure that your taxes are coded as liabilities. And then if you're S Corp, you're doing the proper split between employer and employee, because it's not going to split that for you when it's coming through the bank transactions. So again, the features here in Wave, and even with the integrated, you do have to know, some of the compliance and things around payroll. So again, if you're a do-it-yourselfer, I do suggest working with a professional or going through Academy for some training here. Let's get into reports. Reports is one of the, obviously you're doing all of this coding, all of this setup, and this is really at the end of the day what you're working towards. And I will say junk in, junk out, right? So if everything is wrong in this first part, if you're not coding it correctly, if you're not, for instance, if you have a loan proceed and you are coding that as income, wrong. So again, you need to make sure that those transactions are coded correctly in the accounting portion. The right bank accounts are connected so that your reports should be correct. Okay. So we're going to hit on profit and loss. It's one of the most popular reports. And like I said, at the top of the session, Wave does offer reporting, and it's a great tool if you just need I call it the 3 essentials: your profit and loss, your balance sheet, and your cash flows. So your profit and loss is going to show how much your business is earning after expenses. Your balance sheet is going to show how much your business is worth after assets minus liabilities, and your cash flow is going to show all the ins and outs of cash and really how much cash do you have working in liquidity in your business. So those are the 3 key reports, and if that's all you need, Wave is a good fit for you. So we will talk about profit and loss. First, you can see here, you can compare to a prior period. So if you wanted to look over a year over year, a month over month, a quarter over quarter, it does allow you those type of views. Now, again, I did speak to, it does not give a monthly trend. We talked about classes. It's not going to give different slices and dices of your classes. You can also run the report in accrual and cash. And I won't go too far in accounting lingo, but you need to understand this report type, again, working with a professional. Most small businesses use cash. Most for tax purposes use cash, but there are several businesses, particularly nonprofits, and then particularly businesses of a certain size that are required to use accrual. So the Wave gives you the option to run those reports in the different views there. But again, you have to make sure those transactions are coded correctly so that that report comes out correctly. You can run it at a summary level or a detail level. I like the detail view, which will basically, once you have all of your information in your chart of accounts, it's going to give you this view with your income, your cost of goods sold, and then all of your operating expenses from your chart of accounts, and then your net profit. So that's the profit and loss. Oh, and I'm sorry, you can also export it. You can export it as a PDF or CSV. The CSV will allow you to do any type of sorting. It's kind of like an Excel where that you can sort the data, and the PDF gives you a really pretty report for report purposes, and it will also bring over your logo. So the balance sheet. So again, you have your as of date, and it just from the summary level, you have your your assets, your liabilities, your equity, or you can do a more detailed view. Depending on how much data is in here, I will run the summary or details, because one thing Wave does that can be a little bit confusing when you have all of the data in here from the chart of accounts, it categorizes it by in alphabetical order. And sometimes if you have amounts that's higher or lower, it just looks, to me, it's not the most prettiest or cleanest report, and it can get kind of jumbled up. So it just depends on how much data is in here, which one I would use. But here's your balance sheet and your cash flow. I always explain that cash flow is kind of a marriage between the balance sheet and the income statement, but it's not going to include any non-cash items like your depreciation. It's coding everything from that bank account. And then at the end of the day, really just saying how much is the change in cash, how much cash does the business have coming in, how much does it have coming out, and what's the change. So one thing that I do with my clientele is look at the cash flow every month, and I kind of give them an indicator, red, green, yellow, to help them understand like how liquid is their business. So obviously the higher the number, the better here, but it does give you the cash flow, and you can export it as well. The sales tax report, Wave gives you the option to, as those transactions come in, break out the sales tax. We talked about payroll and your customers, you can put in reports as well. The vendors we talked about in this purchasing section. And then just the detail reports, this is really your ledger, okay? So it gives you your trial balance, a balance for each account, and then your entire general ledger is your set of books. So every transaction that you've coded, it will be here. Sonia, anything you want to add to that?
Just one thing as far as like with sales tax, because I know with some of my clients, I'm pretty sure you've experienced this too, particularly like with the product-based clients, to where if they have, I'm gonna walk it from the POS system, I'm gonna bring it down to the accounting system.
Uh-huh.
So where they're like, we ask like, have you paid sales tax? They're like, oh, I think I have. Where it's showing up in Shopify, it's showing up, in QuickBooks. We have to let them know, like, hey, all it's doing is just letting you know based off of the sales how much it should be reporting for you to pay. And especially if you're in the state of Tennessee, you are responsible for making sure that you pay that in 10 tabs. So I just wanted to make sure that that was clarified too. So the purpose of whether it's the POS system or your accounting software, they're just gathering the data for you. But I would also say just make sure too, I know in QuickBooks, it gives you in the products and services an area where you can say, is this taxable and things like that. Some people setting stuff up and saving it and don't even be looking at that type of stuff. And then there's a possibility if you're not looking at it properly, you could be overpaying and stuff as well. So that's why, again, make sure that you're using a professional, especially for those, level 2 type of functions.
Yeah, absolutely. That is a great point. I mean, yeah, because you are, some businesses that you have to, that have sales tax, you are responsible as that business owner to collect it and remitted. So, and then you do also need to understand what things are owed sales tax, right? So not everything. And then different states have different statutes. And on top of that, they change all the time. So, and so you really have to, that's where, again, working with a professional is really, really helpful and really necessary before you even get to coding and setting everything up, because you really could be missing something key. And then, I've had the experience where in Tennessee, service-based businesses, I have a client charging sales tax. I'm like, no, you just can't collect sales tax and make it part of your income. That's not what you're doing. So you really do need to upfront, when you are understanding your business, working with your professionals, trying to seek a professional, understand, like, this is what I'm selling. And one experience that I had was in the cloud space. Like, I had a client that was, state of Tennessee. If you are selling something up in the cloud and making generating revenue, you're supposed to tax it. And so that's kind of a new space, the software as a service, and it's not always been taxable. So it's one of those things you have to work, and then work with the professional. Or if you do it yourself, you just have to know it and do the research. And in that invoices section, if you are a business that charges sales tax, you have the option there as well to code your whatever your charge is, and then you code whatever the sales tax rate is, and then you bill it. Then when you receive it, the tax liability records over there on the balance sheet, and then it should wash out once you pay it. So again, I always say it really just consult and work with someone, because you really don't know that kind of stuff or think about that kind of stuff till you're in it, and you hand it over, at tax time, and then you realize, or you get a letter in the mail from from the state, and you're like, what happened? So we want to be proactive and think through these things on the front end.
Absolutely. I never forget, I did. I had I had a video I was paying for a service, and they said it was this amount. Then when I saw the invoice, it was a little bit higher. I'm like, friend, what's this? What's this charge? Sales tax. I said, girl, who we paying sales tax? I'm just trying to go to jail.
Oh gosh.
No, service, you provide the service. I was like, just to make sure that I'm clear. I just want to make sure that I didn't miss anything. Like, no, friend, you have to pay sales tax.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I've seen that, as well as processing fees. You're not supposed to pass on your processing fees to your client. You either change your price. Sonia almost fell.
Because I've seen it, child. I've seen, like, this ain't like GoFundMe, what it be like. That's for nonprofit charities. Like, you won't pass this off.
Yeah. So again, and I know, honestly, everybody has, I think, the best intention for their business, and obviously trying to save costs. But what you don't want to do is save costs to the point it's costing you, 2-3 years down the line, and you're paying penalty and interest because you wanted to do something on the front end to save a little money. So so work with us, please.
I tell you, I just, yeah. So like I said, we can talk about this type of stuff, all day
long. And we did at lunch. We had a very long lunch.
At Channel War stores, didn't it, Jackie?
Is this just me, or at least and I love it. One thing, Sonia, that I kept saying and repeated: collaboration, not competition. So we are collaborating. How can we help each other? Like with this Wave, people are coming to Sonia. Hey, I want to know more about Wave. Wave is cheap, it's free. Let's, but even in Wave, it is less expensive, but you got to know, the things that you are doing with Wave. Some of the things out there are more integrated to maybe help think through it. But at the end of the day, it's compliance behind these tools. It's functionality. I always say it's a big principles of accounting book. It's just all wrapped up in this software. So you have to understand the functionality. And like we said, with sales tax and with merchants, you have to understand how it works outside the software to make sure that the software is doing what it's supposed to.
Right. And you brought up something else too, because y'all, the software is here for a reason, but at the end of the day, you still got to put in some work. Because we have gotten that too, like, child, I heard QuickBooks, you just supposed to, all I had to do was connect the bank account, they're supposed to do everything.
Yeah.
No.
Mm-mm.
That's
Mm-mm.
not what it said. Now, once you get, the hang of, there are some features where, now I don't know about with Wave, if they offer it like automatic categorization.
Mhm.
But even with that, from a professional standpoint, there's some pros and cons to that.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, but yeah, you still got to put in a CEO. I can't stress this enough. Put my big forehead into this camera. You still have to do work
Yes.
on your
Yes,
numbers.
you do. Yeah, it does. Wave has that function as well. It tries to auto categorize based on what you have categorized it in the past. QuickBooks has the rule. Wave doesn't have the rule, but so it tries to automatically either look at something and code it itself, or it tries to, oh, it was coded as this last month and the month before, so I'm going to code it.
Mhm.
Me personally, I look at every single transaction that comes
Yeah.
through, because I have seen, the system tries to get it right, but it can get it wrong. Because it's either looking for what's been done in the past, or it's looking for a keyword, and that keyword might be not completely something you use, that expense for completely different than how the system sees it. For example, if a hotel comes up, it's going to code it as travel. Well, you might have accidentally commingled that, and that's a personal expense. So it should not even be in there. It should be owner's draw. So, and not going against your business. So you do have to do the work, or consult a professional to do the work on your behalf.
Right. And let's not forget those blessed Walmarts and Amazon.
And Amazon's, yes. Yes, Walmart, Amazon. Again, those are very, very, because it can be personal or it can be business.
Mhm.
And I know with me, my clients either have to give that information up front. I have some that know I'm already going to ask. So as they're like, hey, this is what this is for, or when we're doing the books at the end of the month, I'm going to ask, what is this Amazon? I'm not going to automatically assume that it's office supplies, because it could be so much more. Yes. All right. You ready to get back in the tool?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm gonna turn my mute off. I told you. That's how you asked me a question.
So we just wrapped up reports. We are at Wave Advisors. So you can see the AI generated coach popping up. So pros and cons of Wave Advisors from my perspective. You can hire a bookkeeper. So if you're in here and you're like, hey, I need some help, and for whatever reason, you don't want to call me or Sonia, you go through and you're like, hey, I want to hire a Wave advisor. So you have that option. Now you can have someone do the bookkeeping every month or whatever frequency you pick out, or you can do a free consultation with a bookkeeper. Now, what I will say is I have used this tool for the console. I need some questions around pulling data over, and I think it was in the payroll space. So that particular advisor was counted. They were very versed on accruals. They asked for my information or what I was calling about in advance, so that they can go through and look at the account and be prepared. I will say that it was not cheap, but it was to me worth the investment. That particular, I think it's like $150 an hour or something, the consultant, and then I think their next one is $250 for maybe 2 hours, I believe. Now, outside of that, you have what they call this coach won't let me get to it, but it's basically like a chat tool. So you can, if you have a question while you're working, you can type in chart of accounts. Tell me how to add a new chart of accounts, and it's very good at that. It will go through and say, this is how you add a chart of accounts. And I think it's very good for very straightforward answers. But when it gets a bit more complex, one of the cons of Wave is there's not a 1-800 number you can pick up and say, hey, I'm having some issues. So their contact support is really, like I said, what I'm bringing up here is this chat tool over here. Now you can, under the pro plan, create a ticket. You can't do it with the starter plan, but under the pro plan, you can create a support ticket, and someone from Wave will get back with you. But in terms of actually having like an 800 number where they can talk with you, that does not exist in Wave. That is the advisor section. This is also pretty new to Wave, the tax filing. They have partnered with H&R Block if you want to prepare tax returns from Wave. I don't particularly use this tool, but it's great that it's out here, because if you wanted to just go ahead and integrate your expenses into your schedules, it's there for you. Again, I would just, with anything, just have a little caution, because your chart of accounts will most likely not align with the schedule. So you still have to do some calculations and some tweaking there, but this is available as well. Then just to wrap up, I do want to just speak here on these sections. The business settings is where you would go in and basically just go in and you can add your users. We talked about, Sonia, the different levels and what you want to give your clients or what your clients want to give you, vice versa, where you can do your invoice and estimate templates. This is the payroll section here. So like how to fund your payroll, and then your management of your subscription costs here. And then your profile settings. This is where you will go in and you can close your account if you ever want to close your account, but you go in and put your name, your email, your notifications as well. And then believe in the business section, and I won't click this one because I actually have clients, I think, that's going to pull up under here, but you can select what type of business it is. So if it's an LLC, if it's a corp, and then this is also where you can pull in those default chart of accounts. So they have things, for instance, I sell a service. I have a service business. I sell goods. I'm a photographer. So it has different things you can choose. I'm a nonprofit. You will choose it here in this section. And that is Wave in a nutshell.
I love it. So I hope that you guys first of all, if you haven't subscribed to From Chaos to Clarity, Unleash Your Business Potential podcast, that's the first thing you need to do. And the second thing you need to do, especially if you're on YouTube, you need to save this, put it in your playlist, because I promise you, this is one you're going to want to have with you to review over and over and over again. Teachers know teachers, y'all. Just want to tell you that. And so, like, this my type of teaching right here. Right there, good girl teacher. Right. So Jackie, I appreciate you.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate you. Yeah, I have a genuine passion, for small businesses, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, and to see them thrive and to get out there in the economy and circulate that dollar. And let's just, let's do it right. And let's put the investment where it needs to be and get it right. So this is just a tool out of many. So I hope this was helpful. And if you consider it, like I said, maybe just think about at the top of the podcast, one, look at your business to see if it's a good fit. And then just, again, always know where to consult a professional.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you guys heard it here first. We are definitely going to have Jackie on for other episodes and other, course opportunities and things like that. Hopefully she'll be a guest on NGIP Academy for one of our monthly teaching opportunities as well.
I'm here for it. I'm signed, sealed, delivered. Just let me know.
I love it. And another thing too, just talking about collaboration, like everybody eats, man, especially when it comes to the realm of finance. You can't be the end all be all and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And if you sitting up here trying to say that, now I'm looking at you. I'm giving you side eye.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to bring in folks like this is for real. Like I was telling Jake, like the Power Rangers. Like your color represents like your superpower and like what's your, specialty and things like that. So I really encourage entrepreneurs, like, don't be in a silo if you don't have to be. Right. And especially when you have like larger projects and stuff, on the horizon. That's another way to scale, to be quite honest with you.
Absolutely.
Right. So definitely be thinking about those. Go ahead, Jay.
Oh, yeah. I'm agreeing with everything you're saying. I am so anti crabs in a barrel. How can we work together? How, there's seasons of overflow, like I told Sonia, I mean, in my space, you really want a good referral. Like, if things come in, there may be, an area, or there may just be, again, not a good time for whatever reason. And you want, I call it a network, right? You want a network of like-minded professionals, and, and work that you can vouch for, and again, just collaborate. So I am definitely, I see Sonia out there doing her thing. I look up to her, and she's just so innovative. So, hey, how can we collab? I mean, what can we do? And Sonia, this was all, Sonia's idea. So I appreciate it. We were kind of talking through some of the pain points of some of the technology out there, and she mentioned Wave. I was like, well, actually, Wave is that's my go-to, if it makes sense. Now, I've had to, with some clients, like QBO was definitely the fit. Like, yeah, I can't. I'm going to spend more time outside of Wave than in Wave if I used it. So yeah, it's just, again, there just may be areas, like Sonia with the grants. Like, if I needed to have a go-to with grants, like, hey Sonia, how can we work together? Or is this a better fit to referral? So, again, it's just collaboration, and I hope maybe this inspires someone that may be looking at someone else like, hey, they do what I do, and we can't possibly do it at the same time. And, and that's just not simply, true. So, and that, we can also always learn from each other. It may not even be technical stuff. It could be how to deal with a client. Hey, how did you deal? Yeah, and remember, we talked about that a lot. Yeah, we're like, hey, how do you, price out this particular thing, or how do you, so it may not even be necessarily getting business or getting to. It's just like, hey, let me bounce this off of you, just so you can, again, collaborate in a way that can be helpful, for your business. So I appreciate it. And Sonia, I hope I don't get on your nerves too much, because I'm going to be collaborating like, hey, what do you do with this? And so, again, I appreciate it, and I appreciate hopping out the DMs and
That's right.
and meeting each other in real life, and, and doing something with it. So thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. My pleasure. So, Jackie, let everybody know how they can get in touch with you.
Yes. So, again, the name of my business is Baldwin Financial Services. My Instagram tag is Baldwin_financial_services. If you go to the Instagram, you can also see a link to my website. If you click the website link and you want to get in contact with me to talk about, your business or where you are, there is a contact page, and I'll be in contact with you from there. That is the best way to get on my calendar. So I would say start with Instagram, and then the website link from there.
If you want to get in contact with Jackie, reach out to Baldwin Financial Services. We're also going to put this information in the the description below in the show notes. So the number is 901-498-2121. If you want to contact Jackie via website, it is bfinancialservicesco.com. Okay, no www, just bfinancialservices with an S, co.com, and follow her on Instagram at Baldwin_financial_services. And y'all, you know how we do. We are doing a podcast, then followed by a Q&A. So on Thursday, April the 24th at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, you will get to hang out with Jackie and I live. Now, I'm gonna tell you, we're gonna do a different approach for this live, just because we know that it's gonna probably be with the functionality with Riverside and stuff like that. We feel like it's probably gonna be a better fit if we do it on Zoom. So be on the lookout. If you're not on the email list, get on the email list, because we're going to send out a Zoom registration for this Q&A, and we're going to host the Q&A in Zoom and then post a replay on YouTube. So this one won't be a live broadcast from YouTube. Go to gipfinancials.com. You can join the email list there. Okay, and so just be on the lookout. We will post that on all of our social media outlets. yeah, I'll make sure, Jackie, that you get it as well.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Sounds good. I look forward to the Q&A.
yeah, it's gonna be live. It's gonna be live. So any other closing remarks, Jackie, before we dismiss?
So my only closing was this is actually airing the same day that I'm hosting a class, Cash Flow Confidence, which is around bookkeeping and just how do you get to the cash? How do you get to the cash in your business? And I am working with GWERC Memphis. They are located in Whitehaven off of Elvis Presley. So if you are a business owner, again, if you go to my Instagram page, all of the information is there. Please register. Well, again, it's going to be airing today, so come on down. If you're seeing this by noon, it's from noon to 1:30. And again, it's just all things very essential to know in bookkeeping. Some of the things that we talked about today, kind of outside of Wave, before you even get to the software, how to understand your reports, how to understand what to pay yourself out the business. So how people use bookkeeping, and just knowing that bookkeeping is the foundation of your business. It is the foundation. So if you don't have that stable foundation, the whole house is going to knock down at some point. So it is.
I thought I'm a teacher. That's the teacher in me. I just had to make it clear.
No. Yeah, so I'm going to be talking about all of that, giving some just more insight, and then most common tax deductions. We talked about a little bit here, most commonly missed, how you can make sure you don't miss them. So it's not tailored to a particular software. It's tailored to actually bookkeeping and understanding why you need it. If you are a business owner and you do not have any bookkeeping in place, I really, really, really encourage you to attend, or to, Sonia's Academy, again, is another resource. You're going to have it at some point. And as you grow, you're going to have to either hire somebody in-house or out-house, because that's just part of the business. So again, that would just be my last word. I did want to just remind it, this is the foundation.
I tell you, yeah, that's cool. That's what we do here. So y'all, thank you guys for coming out to the podcast and learning more about your business and how to know your numbers in an effective way to get the funding that your business deserves. And like Jackie said, without bookkeeping, everything else does not even matter.
Yeah.
It does not matter. So thank you again, Jackie, for blessing the people today and educating us. And guys, we will see you on the next episode. And we better see you guys April 24th at 7:30. With
Yes.
questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Sonia. Thank you so much.
All right, you guys, take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for tuning in to the From Chaos to Clarity, Unleash Your Business Potential podcast. Again, my name is Sonia Jones of GIP Financials, your Mr. Miyagi of Money. And look, if you learned something from this episode, don't keep it to yourself. Make sure that you like, that you subscribe. If you have some little nuggets, add some comments to the comment section of this podcast. But most importantly, I want you to share it with your fellow entrepreneurs. We want to share this good old fundamental business finance education so you can have the tools necessary to know your numbers and grow your business. All right. Take care, y'all. I'll catch you on the next episode.